Did you catch what went down with Lamar Jackson? In the middle of a wild game against the Bills, he got caught up in a moment nobody saw coming. A fan shoved the quarterback, and Lamar wasn't about to just let that slide. The pushback turned into a heated scene. The reaction blew up even more, and suddenly everyone was asking the same question. What's the NFL going to do about this? Well, now the league has made its final call, and this decision could completely change the way this whole story plays out. The way it was handled shocked a lot of people, split opinions, and left plenty of debate on the table. So if you thought you'd already seen it all in the NFL, think again, because what we're about to break down is going to keep you locked in until the very last detail. When it first happened, no one really knew how the NFL was going to respond. The video showed it clear as day. A fan shoved Lamar Jackson, and Lamar shoved back. You can't just brush that off when one of the league's biggest quarterbacks is involved, especially in the middle of such a high-stakes game. The immediate reaction was, is he getting suspended? A huge fine? An investigation? The league did what it always does in these situations. They hit pause and started digging into the details. They don't make these calls in the heat of the moment. They break it all down. It was like reviewing film in slow motion, checking every angle. Who started it? How did Lamar respond? Was it over the line? Or was it reasonable given the situation? Those were the questions on the table. And let's be real, the fact that it was Lamar Jackson made it even bigger. He's not just another player. He's a two-time MVP, the face of the Ravens, and a guy who doesn't usually get caught up in controversy. That carries weight. The NFL knows anything he does makes headlines, and any punishment would send shockwaves to the Ravens and the entire season. That's why the review wasn't rushed. This wasn't some quick judgment. It was a careful, calculated decision. Everyone was waiting to see if the league would protect its image or put the heat on one of its brightest stars. And that long review led straight to the next big step, the league's final decision on whether or not to punish Lamar Jackson. After all the back and forth, the answer finally came down. The NFL isn't punishing Lamar Jackson. No suspension. No fine from the league office. Nothing. For some people, that was surprising. They expected at least some kind of symbolic penalty. But the NFL made it clear. In this case, they didn't see enough reason come down hard. That choice showed the league understood the context. Yes, Lamar shoved the fan, but he got shoved first. There's a big difference between starting the trouble and reacting to it. For the NFL, the gray area mattered. They didn't want to look like they were ignoring it. But they also knew this wasn't a simple player out of control situation. Fans in Baltimore definitely breathed a sigh of relief. Losing your quarterback in the middle of a tough season would have been a nightmare. With no punishment from the league, Lamar was free to keep playing without interruption. It was almost like the NFL wanted to turn the page faster than people expected. But even with that call, one question was still hanging. If the NFL wasn't going to step in, what would the Ravens themselves do? Would they just let it slide, or would the team decide to send a message? And that's where the spotlight shifted, straight onto the Baltimore Ravens. The NFL basically tossed the ball to the Ravens. It was like saying, we're not touching this, but you've got the freedom to handle it however you see fit. That changed the entire narrative, because now it wasn't about the league's stance. It was about how the Ravens saw their franchise quarterback's actions. When a league makes a move like this, it's a sign they trust a team to handle discipline in-house. The Ravens had to decide, was this just a private conversation with Lamar, or would they put some kind of punishment in place? How they handled it would also shape the public perception. If they showed accountability, it would prove they weren't just sweeping things under the rug. It's a tricky balance. On one hand, you don't want to embarrass or undermine your star, the player who carries the entire franchise. On the other, you've got to prove that there are standards, even for the face of the team. Every move would be scrutinized, not just by the fan base, but by the media and division rivals too. That set up the real question. What would the Ravens actually choose? Should they be tougher than the league? Or would that be an overreaction in a case where their QB was provoked? That debate opened the door for the next big point. What possible actions were even on the table for Baltimore? And that's where the conversation shifted, to the potential measures the Ravens could take.
And if you, just like me, are passionate about the world of football and want to learn more about the Ravens' legacy, Don't leave this video without sharing it with that friend who is also a Baltimore Ravens fan and will love this content. See those video suggestions on your screen? The first one was handpicked just for you, and the other is a recommendation from YouTube itself.
With the decision now in Baltimore's hands, the speculation kicked in. What could the Ravens realistically do? The most likely scenario seemed to be something light. A straight-up conversation face-to-face, making it clear they don't want to see that kind of reaction again. A simple warning would be enough to send a message. Another option was a symbolic fine. For a player at Lamar's level, the money wouldn't sting, but would show the outside world the team didn't ignore the incident. Sometimes it's not about the size of the punishment. It's about the message it sends. There was also the more extreme, though unlikely, possibility. Restrictions around media appearances or limiting certain off-field activities. But honestly, that kind of move usually only happens when a player has a history of issues. That's not Lamar. This was a one-off situation, not a pattern. In the end, what most people expected was a balanced approach. Something light, but clear enough to prove the Ravens set boundaries, protecting their quarterback, while also making it clear there are standards everyone has to respect. And all of this led to the bigger picture, why the league, and even the Ravens, seemed ready to give Lamar the benefit of the doubt in the first place. The heart of it all comes down to context. Lamar didn't start it. He was provoked. That matters a lot when you're breaking down an incident like this. The NFL knows emotions run high in a game, and sometimes reactions are more instinct than intent. Another big factor? His track record. Lamar Jackson isn't the guy you usually see in headlines for drama. If anything, he's known for staying focused and avoiding controversies. That clean history played in his favor. This looked more like an exception than a habit. And let's not forget his importance to the league. Lamar is one of the faces of modern NFL football. Suspending or punishing him without a strong reason would have created an even bigger storm than the push itself. Protecting the league's balance, while still showing accountability, was part of the calculation. So the message became clear. Yes, Lamar made a mistake, but it was understandable. This isn't something that's going to follow him around. Both the NFL and the Ravens seem ready to move on. It was a headline-grabbing moment, but not one that defines his career. Which brings everything full circle, because now Lamar Jackson's focus shifts back where it belongs. On the field, in a huge matchup against the Browns, where the only thing that matters is how he performs when the whistle blows. At the end of the day, the NFL made it clear. Lamar Jackson won't be punished. The league saw the bigger picture, recognized he was provoked, and left it to the Ravens to handle internally. The team will probably keep it low-key, making sure it doesn't become bigger than it already is. But it also sparks a debate. How far can a player go when a fan crosses a line? Lamar got the benefit of the doubt this time, thanks to his clean record. But should the NFL have at least handed out a fine to set an example? What do you think? Did they get it right, or did they go too soft? For Lamar and the Ravens, the spotlight now shifts back to football. The season rolls on, and the Browns are waiting. Whatever drama happened off the field, it's a performance on it that's about to matter most.
All right, we're already past the halfway point of this video, but before we continue, I noticed you haven't left a like yet. It's really important because it helps YouTube keep showing you my content so I can keep bringing you the best news about the Baltimore Ravens. So go ahead and hit that like button. It's free and it really helps. Thanks. Now let's get back to it.